unedited, unfiltered, and uncontrollable.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Destroying Kayfabe, your number one source in wrestling-related news. I am your host, CM Styles, and along with me, as always, the one, the only, Mr. Chaos himself. How are you doing tonight, my dude?
Doing pretty good, man. It's good to be back.
Oh, yeah. So tonight we're going to do part 2 of last week's conversation with Extreme Championship Wrestling. Last week, I should say, my wingman is Mr. ECW himself, and he had a ton of things he had to say about the promotion this week. We're going to talk a whole lot of talent acquisitions, and on top of that, we'll cover some more details on promotions that try to be like ECW. But man, I gotta say, last week's talk that was some good shit, and this week, I'm actually looking forward to talking to about some of the talents, some that are still around, some that are not. We all know how ECW took its, final breath during the TNA days, being bought out.
I think I'd like to get into everything. I think we touched base on a lot of good subjects last week. I think. Let's take a little deeper dive into some of ECW's greatest feuds as well.
Yes,
like you said, some of the knockoffs, some of the inspirations, and
and when you think about it, ECW was one of the paveways for this wrestling industry, especially for companies like the WWE. If it wasn't for ECW, you wouldn't have had a hardcore title in either WWE or WCW.
I mean, to take it further, not to use the pun, to take it to the extreme, but I said it last week till I was blue in the face that there is no Attitude Era without ECW, and
exactly.
I will always stand by that.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that WCW was beating WWE in the ratings as well, WCW and ECW really stepped up their game to go against these companies, or the machine known as the WWE. But
even if you look at, say, for example, the first hour of Nitro, and it goes back to our NWO podcast where we touch base on this very, very briefly, is the first hour of Nitro was always great wrestling. It was always the cruiserweights and lucha libre. Well, the majority of those wrestlers came from either AAA or ECW or a combination of the both.
Exactly.
Rey Mysterio,
Psychosis, Dean Malenko, young Eddie Guerrero,
Chris Jericho.
Can't forget the Lionheart, man. Those are the top 5 right there. And then you had Juventud. I think Juventud was in ECW for a tad bit.
He was. Sure. Juvie.
And like you said, the Cruiserweight division always warmed up the first hour. And, of course, hour number 2, you got into some classic pro wrestling and then some storylines behind that. But in ECW, it was just all-out fucking mayhem. It was just cutting. There was shoot promos everywhere.
And there was always that misconception that's swirled around at that time. And even Eric Bischoff kind of fed into it because he was oblivious and ignorant that ECW was nothing but blood and guts and hardcore wrestling when... Meanwhile, he's plucking talent away, and he's using them on his own show, and it's nothing to do with hardcore blood and guts or so-called or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, beggars can't be choosers when it comes to this fucking business. Of course, Bischoff did some crazy-ass shit to actually promote his company. And, of course, when they got Vince Russo on board, then all things... were out the window or on a pole. But either way,
bro,
you didn't have that crazy ass shit in ECW.
The bro.
Like I said tonight, bro, everything was bro this and bro that. I mean, don't get me wrong, the dude actually invented the part of the Attitude Era. He was responsible for most of
Yeah,
that shit.
he had some good ideas.
That's all he'll be known for. And no disrespect towards the man, but God, he knew how to put WCW out of business. And if he would have put his hands in the ECW cookie jar, I can guarantee we'd be talking about that for years to come. Good thing that didn't happen, because it would have been expensive, and that would have put the company out of business a whole lot sooner. But yeah, tonight we're going to talk about some of the greatest superstars, some of the greatest feuds, and mock companies, and some companies actually did succeed until this whole pandemic thing came into play. But
one of the first ones I want to talk about is because it was a major incident at the time, and it was all over the internet. It was an upstart company called XPW. I don't know if you remember them.
I remember. I've heard of them.
So XPW was like a wrestling / nearly damn porn company. So ECW, I forget the pay-per-view that they had. Obviously, like we said, it's a laid-back atmosphere they were trying to purvey tonight. But ECW had a pay-per-view out in LA. And XPW shows up in the front row. A handful of their stars, I think a referee, maybe a manager or two, and they get kicked out. So they go out in a parking lot, right? And a slew of ECW wrestlers, they actually go out into the parking lot and they beat the living shit out of these XPW guys. And most of them aren't even wrestlers. They're like, I don't know, they're like staff, they're valets. Supposedly the rumor was that one of the female valets got into it with Francine, which Francine later said was not true. But XPW was like the first spin-off of ECW, based out of Los Angeles. It was trying to be like a hardcore wrestling / borderline porn type shit.
So basically, yeah, you have a West Coast ECW style company versus the East Coast actual ECW, which is pretty fucking extreme if you ask me.
Yeah. Yep.
Of course, down the road, let's see, we had all kinds of, after the fallout of ECW, you had CZW.
Right, I was just going to say that, I mean, I was going to ECW events in 99, 2000, 2001, right before ECW closed. It was not uncommon to see Mr. John Zandig out in the parking lot or in the line handing out pamphlets to CZW, was holding events right over the bridge in New Jersey. So it was actually really common. It was like in every show type of thing. I never did go to a CZW event at that time, but CZW definitely made a name for themselves at that time, especially in the hardcore realm of things. I don't think they did it.
Ladies and gentlemen, rev up your weed whackers. We are going to town. Let me tell you the memes that we saw out of that one.
Right.
Of course,
this
but
fucking guy
CZW
was chained.
Good wrestlers,
John Zandig was out of his fucking mind. He was chaining himself to cars in Japan and taking. I don't even think that's a bump. Can you really say that being drugged by a car is a bump? I think that's more like
it's like a death wish just waiting to
right,
happen.
exactly, yeah.
You know, if you got a warrant for death, by all means, go ahead and do that.
Whoever eventually, there was somebody who did call that garbage wrestling, and I firmly believe that's fucking garbage wrestling.
I agree.
It's not wrestling at all. It's fucking garbage.
It's just a high-end spot that has no fucking end game whatsoever.
It's just violence. Even though, the weed whacker spot is pretty comical.
Yeah, that at least you get something out of that one. But yeah, they get dragged by a car because you tie yourself down to it. Yeah, that's taking it a bit too far. Even for a bunch of old guys like us, it's unneeded.
Yeah. I never actually saw anybody take a weed whacker spot live. I've seen pretty handful amount of wrestling in my time.
Yeah, me either, but I ran a weed whacker earlier today and saw the CZW, so I guess that counts. But
don't we all?
Yeah, CZW, and then you had remember WSX No one can forget
Yeah, of
Wrestling
course.
Society X. Another
That-
that was an
yeah.
ECW style fed, except
Wasn't
had
that on MTV?
TV, and then of course
Yeah.
there was one match that got it canceled, and it was because of the fireball spot with Judas Messias, or Ricky Banderas, if you remember his name.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, he did that fireball spot, and MTV said you're not allowed to do that, and they canceled the show. And it was
Right.
renewed for a second season and was canceled on the spot because of that.
Yeah, that was actually pretty tolerable and watchable at the time. from what
Yeah,
I
it was,
remember.
and WSX would have been great for MTV today, but we get teen, 16 pregnant and Teen Mom episodes 1, 2
Right.
seasons, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck. But nah, that's not extreme. That's just borderline bullshit. But
Yeah.
let's see what else we had. We had Propane Pro Wrestling 3PW. For those who don't know.
3PW.
3PW.
I was just going to say, everybody remembers 3PW. They
3PW
should.
had some. It was a very ECW style thing. It was even in the
Mm-hmm.
old ECW arena too. So it's kind of like a flashback, or a throwback, I should say. Not
I was
flashback.
at a 3PW event. It wasn't bad at all.
Well, you're probably on one of the DVDs then, and I probably have it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the talent. They even had X-Pac on there, 6, whatever you want. Strong fucking Walkman, the kid. He was on it. He was actually, during his prime, he was pretty fucking solid as an extreme base wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically ECW. And I swore I saw Christopher Daniels in there. I think I was at an event with him. It was Joey Matthews. So it was like
Joey Matthews, and if Joey Matthews was there, expect Christian York to be there because they were in ECW together, ready to fall out. I was saying about that earlier. Matthews and York were a great tag team.
Yeah, they were very popular at the time. Public Enemy even was there for a brief spat rather.
And you end up with guys like Balls Mahoney, Axel Rotten, and Rotten if needed. I mean, it was basically just a bunch of ECW guys and then a bunch of enhancement talent learning how to be hardcore.
It was Blue Meanie that ran it, I believe, or maybe Larry Sharp. They even did shows out of the Electric Factory, which is a very popular concert venue in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with the Electric Factory. I've never been to it, but I've heard a lot about it. I'm trying to think. We had, of course, I said earlier or last week, there was Extreme Reunion, Extreme Rising. I also have a DVD set that's called Hardcore Forever.
Okay.
It's all the same stuff, and of course on the Hardcore Forever box set, it's got none other than Terry Funk. Funk you, man.
Yeah.
He helped the whole ECW thing too, because he was he was a top tier talent during his retirement year, which he never really retired until he can no longer move, and now God, he's beyond subpar.
Yeah, I think Terry Funk actually fulfilled Ric Flair's wish of like
wanting to die in the ring.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, Terry. I don't mean to sound morbid or nothing, but he's
and now he's to the point his body.
He's in bad shape.
Very, and every time I see a Twitter or Facebook post or any of the pro wrestlers talking about him, because I follow up with as many of the outside guys as possible that stay in touch with Funk. Funk's literally in the point of where he says, I don't want to be talked to. Don't want anyone coming to my door. He doesn't want to sign autographs, nothing. He wants to be left alone. And I don't blame the guy.
Jesus, he's been on the road off and on for 60 years, 6 decades.
I mean, how can we ever forget the infamous fucking ladder spot that he damn near botched in ECW? He did a fucking moonsault off a ladder and damn near broke his neck.
Yeah, and at that time he was probably like 50.
Yeah, and of course for the next 20 years he was working on his retirement tour. God, that was just that took forever. But yeah, he's finally retired.
Retired more times than Brett Favre.
Oh God, retired more than a CM Styles guy trying to retire from destroying kayfabe too. Wait, hold up, I gotta work on that one. But yeah, let's see who else we have. I mean, there was a lot of guys. And then, of course, you also had WWE, CW.
Right.
But we won't talk about that one.
No, I mean, I think that, like, I'm trying to put my finger on what was the most important ECW feud of all time.
The most important, there was quite a few. Now, I remember one of the biggest feuds of all time. It didn't last very long, but it was a break in the Tommy Dreamer's career. The whole pretty boy gimmick. He didn't want to take a shot to the face. He didn't want to get beat to death at first. And then after a while, I guess they convinced him to finally say, let's have Sandman cane the shit out of him.
Yeah, there you go.
Please, sir, like some more. So it's
yes, you're
another
going, way back to 94, I think. Even, 94.
Yeah, and then after that, let's see what else we had. We had Sandman and Raven. We'll never forget the crucifixion.
Right, and even the Dreamer, like you said, the Dreamer flowed into the feud with Raven, how they were in summer camp as kids, and they loved a girl named Beulah, and Beulah was with Raven and Stevie Richards at the time.
So of course, we can never forget when was it Beulah or was it Francine that said she was pregnant?
That was Beulah. And then she said, and she was with Raven and Richards at the time, and she said to Raven in the middle of the ring, "It's Tommy's," and that was fucking crazy. There was nothing like that at the time in wrestling. That
it was just so
it was like straight off of a Jerry Springer or a talk show type of thing, which at the time was pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean there was all, and of course they were trying to mix in with the all the popularity of things in life.
Yeah, pop culture, right?
Yeah, and it just boded well, and that was ECW's success right there. Like you said, the pop culture thing, anything that you can get your hands on in the 90s, they got their hands on it.
The music, the TV.
How they got away with most of that music, I don't know, but.
Well, they did. Yeah, I mean, nobody was on at like 2 a.m. in Philly. It was a channel called it was Channel 40, Sportsnet at first, then Channel 47, which was like public access. So that's
of all channels, right? Man, public access.
Right.
It's so like no one's gonna. Care.
I mean, even staying with Raven and Dreamer. Or Raven, actually staying with Raven, and like you said, the Sandman, that feud, the Raven Sandman feud. Raven, I think her name was Chastity. It was Sandman's wife, or wife in quotations, and they even had his kid involved. And Sandman, Raven nearly canes his Sandman's kid, and then his kid steps in front of Raven, or Sandman nearly canes Raven, right?
Yep.
And his kid in the leather jacket, a la Raven, steps in front of Sandman, his dad, and does the arms out pose like Raven.
That's right. He fucking turned on his dad.
Yeah, that was fucking crazy. It was just.
This goes around the same time that they crucifixed him, didn't it?
Yeah, no, the crucifix.
That was later on. That's right, because that was right before Kurt Angle ended up going to WWE. Because Kurt Angle was supposed to be in ECW.
Yeah, he was pissed. Kurt was doing commentary. I think it was most likely with Joey, and I don't know. That was never clear on who gave the go-ahead for that, or if that was just Raven going off.
I think it was Raven. He totally destroyed Kayfabe on that one, because out of nowhere, if you remember, after all that, Raven actually came out and had to apologize because of that. And I was like, holy shit, man.
Right, that was fucking crazy. I wasn't expecting a lot at that time. But that was insane, and I'd never heard of. Honestly, I didn't know who Kurt Angle was at that time.
I didn't know either. I mean, I didn't watch the Olympics as much either. Had to find out how a dude wins a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. We have an IRC that IRCs and complains all day with a broken freaking shoulder. But
Raven. I think Raven is criminally underrated as far as just an incredible character. In the 90s, he's like Raven is like the original anti-establishment character of the 1990s, long before Steve Austin even. Raven may have dressed
the grunge look is basically what he brought.
Right. He may have sold that look, and it didn't appeal to everybody the way some.
But there's that understood.
Right.
It fit
Right.
to them, and that was the payoff.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he looked like before he did the whole Raven
Hey, it
gimmick?
was fucking Johnny Polo.
And Scotty fucking
Scotty Flamingo. Scotty
forget
Flamingo.
WCW Scotty Flamingo.
Yeah.
And WCW's Johnny Polo. It was an utter failure, but he had to start somewhere. That was basically him paying his dues.
Yeah. Jeez, he was even with the Mountie for like a hot second or two.
Right. Or was it just the Mountie, or was it the Mountie or the Quebecers? No, it was the Mountie, or whatever the hell they were called.
It was one of the Rouges, maybe two of them.
Yeah, Jacques Rougeau, and then the other we all now know as PCO. If you remember PCO from
I forgot that PCO spent a little bit of time in
the other guy. Yeah.
At that point, yeah. So I mean, moving on from Raven is that you had Sabu, you had Terry Funk,
Rob Van Dam. Well, Rob Van Dam came down later on.
I mean, Rob Van Dam was always kind of around, and the great thing about, and I think we may have touched on it on the last episode, but I always milk it to death, is that how impressive it was that ECW made the TV title maybe just as relevant, if not more relevant, than their world title.
Putting on RVD is what made it that way.
Right. And I think WWF was almost onto that in the early 90s when they had Bret Hart win the Intercontinental title. And when he took it from Mr. Perfect. But I don't think they had the depth or the talent involved to keep it on Bret. They had to keep pushing Bret, but that's a different subject for a different time. But Rob Van Dam was still doing tag matches with Sabu. He had a great feud with Sabu at a great event called A Matter of Respect. So where it was a stretcher match between him and Sabu, and it was fucking phenomenal.
Let's see, what else do we have? BWO. We had BWO in there.
Yeah, BWO.
But they really didn't have much of a feud with anybody. They were just
just relief. A comedy hour. It was funny.
I mean, the only person in the BWO that had any feud with anybody, and that would have been Stevie Richards. Blue Meanie, he just went out there, he did his dance. Yeah, Hollywood Nova, who was supposed to be pretending to be
one of the later feuds I was thinking about earlier today, which everybody will know, is Mike Awesome and Masada Tanaka.
Dude, those two, it was like watching a death match without all the explosives.
That's brutal.
Of course, brutal. It was strong style. It was FMW style wrestling. That's basically what it was. It carried it over here to ECW, and of course, we got to see one last match from them in 2005 at One Night Stand.
Yeah, that was a great match as well.
Not too long after that, we lost Mike Awesome.
Yep, Mike Awesome to me is one of the greatest big man of all time.
Yeah,
he just moved so well.
He moved well. He was actually a decent high flyer if you give him the opportunity to try it, but dude had a sick fucking lariat.
Right. Oh yeah.
When I saw him that last time, he kind of looked like a young version of Stan Hansen. Very young version.
That's exactly who he reminded me of, no doubt about it.
I mean, but before all that, when he was in FMW and he spurred the face paint, or he was in WCW,
one of the first big men to actually do that leap over the top rope outside the ring.
I mean, I can't say you won't see it. You did see it for a while. You had Luke Harper actually doing that shit, or Brody Lee, as we know him. Right? May he rest in peace. Yeah, you don't see very many big guys trying to go all out for a cheap pop, and Mike Awesome, he made sure it happened.
Right. Yep.
I mean, the guy really didn't have too many feuds when he was in ECW because he was too busy working every other promotion out there.
Yeah, I mean the big thing was, and it probably could warrant a whole episode by itself as far as potential like screw jobs, is when WCW had signed Mike Awesome, and they were trying their hardest to get him to leave ECW with the WCW title, and Paul was not going to let it happen, and Vince was not going to let it happen. So they came to an amicable solution. Was that Taz, who was at the time signed to WWF, was going to wrestle Mike Awesome, ECW champion, signed to WCW, and win the title. So Awesome dropped the title. He actually ducked out through the crowd because most of the ECW guys were legitimately going to beat his ass in the back. So, that's the type of things that we were talking about in the early 2000s as far as just...
Yeah, I mean, they carried that wanting to beat your ass tradition in other promotions.
Yeah.
Now, they did that with, let me see, it was in Impact Wrestling, TNA at the time. Christian Cage was on his way out. He was getting ready to go back, WWE 90 days later. So they gave him a severance package, and that severance package was made about 10 minutes worth of an ass beating. Of course, nowadays when they do it is basically the friendly gesture of, farewell in the next promotion. Back in those days, it was basically, we're just going to fucking kill you. Yeah, that's how ECW worked. And
right.
Of course, like I said, TNA, they tried to do it with ECW 2.0 with what they call that, the Extreme Faction or whatever. I forget what they called that shit.
I can't even remember. I know TNA had a
Dixie brought all the ECW guys.
She had They had a handful of ECW titles.
Extreme Revolution, I think it was.
Hardcore Revolution was
Revolution was the ECW game.
Yeah, but there was what were the events that Tommy ran? House of Hardcore.
House of Hardcore, yeah. Of course, House of Hardcore. Honestly, here's my take on House of Hardcore. House of Hardcore, of course, it was Tommy's promotion. He wants to use the term hardcore wrestling, basically stiff wrestling. You don't see ECW stuff, but you get the ECW feel, the whole entire thing. It also felt a little like a very low budget ROH, but
yeah, it was pretty much. I mean, ROH. I hate to. ROH was actually probably running like down the street at the time with the Murphy Rec Center. So
I mean, yeah, a couple great feds right there, and of course tonight. Of course, everyone's probably watching SmackDown. Me, no, I watched a little bit of GCW tonight. GCW was live, and
how was that?
It wasn't too bad. People I did not know, but pretty good matches. So, I mean, the Major Brothers are in there. The Major Brothers, if you remember Major Brothers from ECW and WWE version. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins are, as we know, Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. I believe they're the tag team champs.
Oh, that dude?
Yeah, that's the one.
Woo.
But I was watching it for a little bit tonight. I was watching that while playing Fortnite with my son. He's like, Dad, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm watching a good program. He's like, why aren't you playing the game? I said, there's GCW, right? Or overrides all. Not really, but I figured,
Was that the promotion that Moxley was in recently?
Yeah, he was in there. He won the GCW title for a little bit, and then I think Nick Gage beat him for it, and then Nick Gage got beat by Cardona, and he had the title for a while. Like, they flip-flopped the shit out of the title.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. They want to put some big names over the world title banner, but that's not how you do it, honestly.
I mean, I don't know. I honestly,
it's a hot fed.
Very minimal.
It's a very hot fed. I will.
Yeah, everybody seems to rave about it.
This Styles not know who Nick Gage is. Of course I know who Nick Gage is. And of course there was memes on Nick Gage and Shawn Michaels because they looked alike in this one photo. But yeah, I know who Nick Gage is. He's dangerous as fuck, man. He is crazy. Right. This dude's got a fucking criminal record and he's still
the meme should be bank tellers fear Nick Gage.
Pizza Hut fears Nick Gage. Come on. Was it the Domino's ad that they were talking about?
Nick Gage robbed some fucking. He robbed a bank.
Remember when
in Jersey?
Remember when AEW fucking had Nick Gage on there? I think it was last year. And
he
looked
like he just smoked a fucking rock a crack, but he was damn entertaining.
Dude, I wouldn't be in a ring with that guy.
No way. He's a
like
fucking nut.
he's the white version of New Jack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the white boy New Jack, man. He'll fucking
Nope.
he'll mash transit your ass so quickly. I'm not. I don't care what they say. That dude's fucking insane. Nah, Nick Gage is just. I remember for like the last 9, 10 years, that's all I would hear people scream out, like fucking indie shows everywhere, because he's an indie Rama guy. He's, you won't see him on a major.
He's got a reputation.
I mean, AEW was as good as it'll get for him. But yeah, he's just too hardcore for all that shit, and he wouldn't make it through a WWE screening anyway. So he would have fit well on ECW.
Yeah, I don't think he quite falls under the PG banner.
No, not even close to it.
Right, yeah. I mean, you could have ran him versus New Jack 10 times over in 10 different cities in fucking 10 straight days. And they would have done the same thing. They would have just bloodied the balls off of each other.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot better than Vic Grimes, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that just makes him want to jump down onto a bunch of tables or get thrown off. And either way, it really doesn't matter right there. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because we just saw that clip earlier. Fucking New Jack tossing Vic Grimes off the fucking scaffold. So I was just like, God, dude. And I remember seeing a Vic Grimes interview where he talked about how he was unconscious. Of course you're going to be unconscious. He just got tossed like fucking 30 feet down below.
He threw him like a rag doll. No, the whole story goes back to, and I knew this before Dark Side of the Ring, but it was an ECW event that Vic was actually at, and versus New Jack, probably maybe like 3, 4, 5 months before ECW folded, where Vic didn't want to take a table spot off a balcony, and then he did. He said he would take the spot. So New Jack throws him off the table, off the balcony, and he doesn't to break kayfabe, as we do here. He doesn't fall. Vic doesn't fall with New Jack. So New Jack actually slams his fucking face into the concrete, and he suffers optical nerve damage. So New Jack is basically blind out of one eye, and he still is to this day. So New Jack always was looking forward to getting some type of revenge against Vic Grimes, and I'm trying to. What promotion was that where he threw him off the fucking scaffold? He didn't even throw him; he just tossed him off there with no regard.
See, I don't even know what the fucking promotion was, because I would actually have to go back and look.
Might have been a House of Hardcore.
I doubt House of Hardcore. No, this is way before House of Hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was House Hardcore. I think the first time that I saw it live was 2005. At the arena. It was a good show too. So
I would really have to go back and
we have to look into that one.
Yeah, that one right there.
Right, so as we're getting to an end here, what is your number one ECW feud of all time?
My number one ECW feud of all time. Now, there was quite a few. Now, of course, we talked about some of the top superstars. Now, we can also go back to some of the pre-cruiserweight guys. Always enjoyed watching Eddie.
You gotta think on it. What pops in your head when you think ECW and the greatest feud of all time? The number one.
Number one feud, God.
Yeah. What defines it for you? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
No, I don't mind being put on the spot, because let me tell you, like I said, I didn't watch a whole lot of ECW from what I did get to watch before I joined the military. Of course, Sandman Raven, that's going to take it all.
There you go. That's a good one.
Nothing's gonna touch Sandman Raven. Like you said earlier in the beginning of the show, you know how his son turned on him, going Raven. Of course, behind that, we also had the whole Dreamers, Stevie Richards thing going on, because Biola's pregnant.
Yep. They built off that well. Yeah. For me, it's Sabu and Taz.
the FTW title.
Yeah, but before that, it's building into the great moment of ECW's history, which was barely legal.
Yes.
As we talked about ECW's history, the last two shows, nobody ever would imagine that ECW would have had a pay-per-view event, and that was barely legal. And it culminated in a year and a half long feud between Sabu and Taz, who were at one time tag team partners and tag team champions way back when Taz was a Tasmaniac.
That's right. Yeah, he came out and
yeah. So there was so much involved with that. Fonzie turned on Sabu, and he went with Taz.
God, he was annoying as shit with that whistle. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, that was part of the whole gimmick.
He was like the Jimmy Hart of ECW. You know, Jimmy Hart had to make a phone. Fonzo had to fucking whistle, and it didn't get any better than that. You know.
Yep.
And we can never forget he had a short run.
Right. And you know what? I hate the great thing about that feud is, and I'm not saying maybe great is the wrong word, but and not to not to put down the FTW title later on, which was after barely legal, but the Sabu Taz feud was not over a title. It was just over pure fucking hatred. And it main event a pay-per-view, the first ECW pay-per-view. So how many pay-per-views in the span of wrestling history can you say that were not over a title?
You don't get many. There ain't many at all.
And that was
over a fucking strap nowadays.
Exactly. And that was the very first ECW title. And it was just it was over respect. It was over settling a score. It was built over fucking, who knows, 20 months, I think.
A battle of fucking hatred and respect at the end.
Yep. And that's what ECW was built on.
And if it wasn't for shit like that, the fans would have abandoned it in a heartbeat. And a lot of fans don't, today's fans would never understand what our generation of wrestling, hardcore wrestling, whatever you want to call it, mutilation, you can get that today, but you won't find it on TV. You'll find it on the internet, or you can go to your local high school gym and they'll probably put on that kind of shit show, but it's not going to be as good as what we did. We saw. You're not going to have the same talent. I mean, look at AEW. They got Taz on the show, but he's not. He's not an active wrestler, but his boy is fucking Hook.
Mm-hmm.
Hook is a beast. He would have been a great acquisition for ECW back in those days. The way he moves, well. He moves super well. He's very fluent in the ring. Like, I don't know how long he was training for, but who was it that trained him a little bit? Wasn't it Cody for a bit?
Taz trained him too, I believe.
So I know Taz can't do too much due to his neck injuries, but let me see what we got up here. Styles' favorite ECW was the Zombie. Thank goodness the Sandman beat the shit out of him, just like he did Big Dick Johnson.
It was trained by Kurt Hawkins and QT Marshall.
QT Marshall, that's right. The Nightmare Factory. And then, of course, he turned on QT because QT was just being a complete douche as a character, and Hook wanted nothing to do with it. So he took the plaque that QT gave him, and he patched the other dude over the head with it and walked off.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like, you got all these other ECW style companies out there. Some are sinking, some are swimming, and the rest is just history. But nothing will ever be on the same caliber of what ECW was. If you want to hear a lot about ECW, go look for Paul Heyman sessions on YouTube, and he'll talk about ECW, let alone what he talks about with WWE. But his ECW time, I mean, yeah, Heyman has a huge rep, good and bad. The promotion he created, was also his demise because of checks, you know.
Yeah, well, that definitely.
You know, behind all that, that was one of the greatest, most extreme promotions we will ever see, and we can use that term extreme in every way possible. And we should make a
Absolutely.
group out of that. But
Maybe. You never know.
you
You
never
never
know.
know.
Anything's possible in this world.
You
But
never
yeah,
know.
I mean, you know, ECW will always have a place in my heart. I didn't get to watch it as much as you got to live it, and that's why I did this week as well for you to talk more ECW, because I know your love and your passion, everything about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I could talk, Cal, I could talk ECW for months on end, and just it was a part of my life, and to this day, I think in a way, my wrestling life it shaped me as a person as far as how I feel about wrestling and how I watch wrestling. So it's important. It's still important to me, and always will be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind staying up late, every night, just watching ECW style promos, and of course they, if you didn't see a match, they always had vignettes the entire time. And who was the Asian chick that was on the show in the company? Like, they used to promote her as being like the
Kimona. Kimona wanna Leia.
Yeah, God, yeah. They like the video promos that they would do before they actually promoted matches. Like, there was one where she was in a chair.
Oh, jeez, the fucking commercials were incredible. I mean,
that was the build up alone.
Right, it would always start with music that you liked. Like, there would be Beck. There'd be like a Beck song or a White Zombie intro.
Beck was the biggest.
Right, and then all of a sudden, Heyman's voice screaming over it would come into play, and it would be like a black backdrop with a font that you would see in Photoshop at the time, that you would use, like a grungy type font, advertising a show somewhere in fucking who the fuck knows where, Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Okay, so since you're talking about the whole promotion thing, do you know whose house they used to fucking promote all that shit?
I think it was Gabe. Right?
Was it Gabe's? Was it Gabe's place, or was it Dreamer's place and his mom's house?
I think it later on it was Dreamer's place, but I think early on at first it was Paul's mom's place. Paul's mom's
place, and then it was Dreamer. Yeah. Or no, Dreamer would come over. It was in Heyman's house, and then Heyman's mom's house, and then Dreamer would come over and help out. Gabe Sapolsky was also helping out with that
Gabe
as well.
was helping. Gabe was out later on. I'd say from like 98 to 01. Gabe and Tommy Dreamer had a major hand in the production of everything.
And Gabe, if there's anyone that knows this business more than Heyman, it was Gabe Sapolsky.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Look what he did with ROH, and look who else did he? There was another promotion he was with that, not just ROH. It wasn't CZW. I can't remember. There was another. Wasn't Pro Wrestling Gorilla? I can't remember, but he had Joey Styles on the show, and Joey Styles dropped like the biggest F-bombs, and Gabe was like, he can't be on here. I was like,
and he was on like, Gabe was with Dragon Gate. I seen Dragon Gate.
Maybe it was Dragon Gate USA.
Yeah, after Ring of Honor, he was with Dragon Gate.
Was that or Evolve? Evolve. It was
Evolve. Yeah, Evolve's what kind of got him his fucking.
To think about it for a minute, it was Evolve because he had Joey Styles on there. Joey Styles was doing the whole, oh my god, what the fuck kind of thing, and out of nowhere.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think WWE bought Evolve, right?
They did. They were using the talent on there for NXT. So out of nowhere, NXT ended up having a pay-per-view named after Evolve, and it was called NXT Evolve. I'm like,
right. So I think Gabe's doing pretty. Gabe's doing pretty well for himself now.
Yeah, I mean, that puts some money in his pocket for a while. That's enough to buy another promotion or make his own. But yeah, my final thoughts on all this shit, though. Overall, hands down, ECW had some of the greatest talents of all time, and you got to see a lot of them in other promotions as well. They enhanced their characters over time, evolved over time. We saw the fallout on a lot of them. If you want to see even more Check out a documentary that came out, I believe it was like 2015, 2014, 2015. An old friend of mine, John Philip Havage, he did what was called Barbed Wired City. It was a raw, unfiltered, unadulterated version of ECW. It was one of the greatest documentaries. This will put you to tears if you saw. If you remember the movie The Wrestler, that's basically what you were.
Oh yeah,
It was a
definitely.
huge downfall to most of these talents, and let me tell you, it hurts me to watch it still. I have a copy of it here, and I wouldn't mind streaming that. You know, I
Hey,
wouldn't
we should
mind
check it
sharing
out.
that. And,
We'll
but
do a watch. We'll do a watch party at that motherfucker.
we'll definitely do that. But yeah, any final thoughts from you, my dude?
No, I mean, I think I kind of touched base on. We talked about the promotions that have kind of extended or were extensions of ECW or were inspired by ECW. We talked about the feuds that we thought impacted ECW the most.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have too many feuds, but it had enough to where, you know, it kept the crowd going. It kept them invested, kept them involved.
Right.
You can never forget the cruiserweight side of things. You had the biggest cruiserweight style feud was Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero. Those two tore the roof off the place.
Absolutely, along with Ray and Psychosis, and then later on you got RVD and Jerry Lynn. I mean, fucking shit, we go on forever about ECW. To be honest with you, even Lance Storm, the nicest guy, nicest wrestler I ever met. Even he had a great run in ECW. Jericho.
If I could be serious for a moment.
Sure. by all means.
By all means. Thanks, Lance Storm, for that one-liner. God. People actually shit on him for being very one-dimensional. Of course, you got Steve Austin.
Lance Storm is the man.
Yeah, I'm never going to take away his work ethic. But yeah, he had the goods. And
right. Remember the catchphrase?
If I could be serious.
No, not that one. From Calgary,
Alberta,
Canada.
Like, it doesn't get any more generic than that. But it was the funny thing is, like, the crowd hated him. And that's all that matters.
Because it was kind of a play on, Bret Hart.
And he should have used the best there is, the best there was, and the best there will be. Because if he would have did that, of course, probably try to find a way.
Right. I love Lance. Lance Storm is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
He was a great in-ring technician. But
he was masterful.
Yeah, the guy couldn't cut a promo to save his life. And
but then the fact that the fact that they played off of that he was boring worked. You know what I mean? Paul Heyman turned a guy that was so boring into highly interesting or just funny. You know what I mean?
And they put him with PJ Polaco.
Oh yeah, my boy.
He was an impact player.
Yeah, notice I didn't mention any Just Incredible feuds tonight.
No,
Mr. Tartan. Yeah.
His greatest feud was the one night only, and that was against CM Punk and Hammerstein.
Jesus. I another guy that we didn't mention that I do like. He had a great run after ECW, but Rhino.
Yes. Tajiri. Tajiri had a decent. No.
Yeah. Tajiri is a guy we should have mentioned, and another great feud that we didn't mention, which I saw like 3 or 4 times, was Tajiri versus Super Crazy. And the fucking ECW crowd.
I was a huge fan.
Yeah. The ECW crowd, Super Crazy is very underrated and very forgotten. The ECW crowd would chant Super Loco, and that was how it started with Super Crazy was awesome. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here.
Yeah, so am I. Well, I'm enjoying it, but Styles is going to build his own wrestling promotion called SWL, Styles Wrestling League. I would love to do it. If I had the funds to create my promotion, I'd do it. I wouldn't call it that. That sounds lame as fuck. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Tomorrow night, I will not be home. Tomorrow night, I will be watching Saturday night's main event live at the Santander Arena. It is a house show. They have 2 shows running tomorrow. One here in Pennsylvania, and the other one is down in Alabama. So it's not a televised event. Kind of upsetting that it's that way. I was kind of hoping to be like a TV show or a televised event, but it's all right. You get better wrestling at house shows than you do at live events. So stuck that one standards. Of course, Sunday, for those who watch me on Twitch, I will not be on in the morning. I might be back Sunday evening to stream there, some retro gaming. But Sunday, I'm going to go see my daughter. So it's going to be pretty interesting to go out and hang out and do dad stuff again. Because she's about to graduate soon here, or graduate school here soon. Girl's getting ready for college in the next several months. So yeah, my kid's living life, dude, and I want to be there.
Right
for
on,
her,
man.
so.
Right on.
I'm old. But so
Hey,
is she.
we're all old.
Hey, man,
We just spent like an hour and a half talking about how old we were.
Yeah, define your age without telling, or tell us how old you are without telling us how old you are. Man, I used
Exactly.
to watch ECW. Fuck, get some ibuprofen out for that one.
We just talked about the last time Terry Funk got a boner.
Oh. With that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Right.
Everyone have a good night. This is CM Styles as well as Chaos. See you next time for another episode
ciao.
of Destroying Kayfabe.